Lucy Dacus home video album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here to chat about this new Lucy Dacus album. God, it looks naked behind me. Sorry, y'all, I'm actually halfway through, maybe even 95% through a move. Lucy Dacus, Richmond, Virginia, based singer-songwriter, who took off a few years back with her debut, No Burden, and honestly, I was pretty much a big fan of this album. I loved her storytelling, I loved her smoky vocals, I liked the whole tone of this album. It had a little bit of a bluesy vibe to it as well. And I really did love this, so much so that I was very excited to hear her next album, Historian, an album that a lot of people were calling Indie Album of the Year, Singer-Songwriter Album of the Year. People loved this thing. And you know what? It had fantastic singles leading up to it, but I don't know. Something about this album in me never really clicked. So much so, this new album, I almost wrote it off completely. Honestly, though, the string of singles that Lucy has been dropping lately leading up to this album have been, I think, her best, bar none. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with Hot and Heavy. I mean, honestly, all around, this is just a stellar track. One of the better tracks Lucy's ever put out. Instrumentally, this is the heavier side of Lucy's music, which personally I love. It's also heavier lyrically. This whole entire album has a very nostalgic feel to it. It shows Lucy often diving into old friendships, also other relationships that could have been a little bit more. That's what we get here. This track is full of huge what ifs and recreating the excitement of an early relationship. And honestly, it's deep, and of all the tracks here, I think this is probably the most universally understandable. It's a real anthem, and I love it. First Time, on the other hand, is surprisingly upbeat for Lucy. I mean, take this, just even instrumentally, just take this and compare it to some of the material on her last album, Historian. It is a lot different. But between the dreamy licks and her husky vocals, I actually really love this. And lyrically, this continues to be a tour de force. And I will say Lucy's very intense visual lyrics may not be for everyone, but I actually love them. I think it's one of the album's best qualities. It's seriously moving and completely fascinating. Then we have VBS, Vacation Bible School, which honestly I have loved since the first time I heard it. This is a super telling story of Lucy's youth, going to Vacation Bible School, meeting one of her first boyfriends there, and how she was desperately trying to save him from Slayer and weed. You know, God help the guy. But I don't know, I absolutely adore this overall. It's just so smooth, so likable. The very nostalgic feel of this album continues with thumbs for better and for the harder times as well. I do like the way that this album also has a little bit of like a dreamy film to it. It really adds to the very nostalgic feel of everything. This one, once again, dives into some pretty deep topics. This one touching down on an experience she had with her friend and her father. I'll just say it, as far as the softer tune goes, this is one of the best tracks here. As a matter of fact, a lot of this album is some of Lucy's best work. I will say this though, as far as some of the airier, lighter tunes go, I don't know, they still don't really rub me the right way. I don't know, something about her vocals, you know, alongside some of these very slow, monotonous instrumentals on here just don't really rub me the right way. I can't really get myself around that. Take, for example, Christine. Lyrically, this is still a wonderfully written track. But like I said, it's these monotonous vocals and this instrumental that just don't really rub me the right way. I don't want to focus on them too much because I do think this is one of the better indie rock albums that's come out this year, but we get tracks like Cartwheels, and honestly, they take me out of the vibe. I don't mind a breezy, airy indie tune, that's just fine. But Lucy's brand of these slower tracks just really rub me the wrong way. I hate to say it, but Cartwheel is honestly the track that moves me the least. And Going, Going, Gone is one of the more frustrating tunes here. Lyrically, this might be my favorite track on the entire album. Her performance on this track, as well as the big sing-along chorus, is awesome. But this ho-hum instrumental is not even close. It's not what I signed up for. Like, it really brings this track down for me, and I hate that, but it did. And Triple Dog Dare is really frustrating as well. Once again, we get a tale of friendship on here. It's one that could have been a little bit more as well. And lyrically, I can't help but commend this. It's wonderfully wrote. Personally, though, the instrumental doesn't really hit me. Once again, did I mention it goes on for almost 8 minutes? It did not need to, trust me. Outside of that, though, this album may not be perfect, but this is easily one of the best indie albums I've heard all year. Partner in Crime might be my favorite track here. This is one of the more experimental tunes, and you know what? Honestly, it's a risk that really pays off for Lucy. This one shows Lucy going deep into lies that she used to tell men to kind of seem more appealing to them. But it shows how it's shaped who she's become over the years, and that is fascinating. And interestingly enough, this track is dripping in auto-tune, which is such a weird choice for Lucy, something she's never even touched before. And apparently, it's really interesting. If you look into it, this wasn't her choice. She had a vocal injury at the time of recording this, and her only option was to go with auto-tune. Actually, I think it comes out great. As far as a single goes, I think Brando was the best one. I mean, I feel like we've all had a friend like the one that Lucy describes here. Almost painfully so. But this track is one of the most catchy on the entire album. It's so well written. I love how bouncy it is too. And for a hard-hitting track, Please Stay hits really hard. Like I said, a lot of this album revolves around past friendships that Lucy has had and past relationships. This one brings up this role that she's seen herself in numerous times, where she's trying to convince someone that life is worth living. It's something that a lot of us have dealt with. It hits hard. We also get backup vocals from Julian Baker and Phoebe Bridgers here. We get a little Boy Genius reunion. That's always great. It's gorgeous, it's full of hope, it's incredibly deep, it's a really great deep album cut. So personally, for my taste in the Lucy Dacus catalog, this is her best album, I think. This album shows her taking more risks. It shows her, sprucing up her instrumentals a little bit, getting a little heavier at times, as well as opening up to a level that I didn't really think was possible. Personally, some of the ballads and the softer tunes on here do rub me the wrong way, and I don't want to harp on them because it's only a small sample size, but they really do take me out of the great vibes that this album really had me in. Still though, this is a commendable album. I think it's the best one that Lucy's put out, and as far as an indie rock album goes, I don't think there's a better one that I've heard this year. I'm feeling a very strong 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.